Mute.
Hi, I'm Lisa Weber. I'm the acting superintendent for the Suffern Central School District. It's my pleasure tonight to be joined by a number of my colleagues to share with you our draft strategic plan. This is a plan we've been working on for almost half the year. We're excited to share it and to hear your thoughts. So I'm going to start by introducing members of the district steering committee that were able to join us tonight. I'm just really going to go in order of who I see on my screen. So I'd like to introduce Patty Marina, 6th grade science teacher at the middle school. Dr. Lillian Ranchera, our Chief Information Officer. Dr. Lisa Castaldo, our Assistant Superintendent for PPS. Finetta Miles, teacher aide at the high school. Matt Kern, our Board of Education President. Christine Giganti, parent representative on the committee. And Steve Schloika, our Assistant Superintendent of Business. I'm also joined by a few other folks I'll introduce briefly. In the background, we have our dream team, the dynamic duo, Eric Coronado, our Director of Technology, and Jenny Mermelstein, our Public Relations Specialist, who make events like this happen. So thank you, Eric and Jenny, for all you do. We also have 2 guests from the DM group. The DM group is a group that we worked with that facilitated our work on our strategic plan. So it's my pleasure to introduce Simone Carpenter and Dean Constant, who will also just kind of support us in the background tonight. And lastly, it's my pleasure to introduce our incoming superintendent, Dr. Eric Gunderson, who's able to join us just for the beginning of our meeting tonight. And I'm going to give him the opportunity to say a few words.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Weber. Thank you for the nice introduction. I'm so very excited to be with all of you this evening. I'm thrilled to be joining the Suffern Central School District beginning July 1. And although my arrival in Suffern officially begins just a little bit over 6 weeks from now, I'm really excited to have had the opportunity to visit a few of the schools, get to meet some staff members, and most importantly, get to interact with some students. I can understand why everyone here within this room and within this Suffern stream is so passionate about Suffern. It truly is a special place. The people that I've been interacting with over the last few weeks have reminded me that Suffern is all about consistently reflecting upon their practices so they can continue to innovate and get better for all students, not simply academically, but also to make sure that they are socially and emotionally growing as well. I've had an opportunity to take a quick look at the draft of this strategic plan, and I'd like to thank those of you that have been involved in the development of this strategic plan. I can't wait to get started. This is a wonderful framework and roadmap for how we collectively as a community can continue to grow and make Suffern the wonderful place that it is now and the wonderful place that it will be for all students in the future. So I look forward to this evening to getting to hear from the presenters, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of you over the summer and throughout the fall when I set up opportunities to listen and learn about your specific experiences and how collectively we can continue to propel Suffern forward. So thanks so much for allowing me to join you all here this evening, and I look forward to the program. Thank you, Ms. Weber.
Thank you, Dr. Gunderson. And without further ado, we will move to our presentation. We'll share a bit about our process and the draft plan itself. So I'm going to take a moment to share my screen and launch my presentation. And here we go, our 5-year strategic plan. And our this, as mentioned, is an opportunity for feedback. So the purpose of tonight's Suffern Stream is to share the process we used to craft this strategic plan, review key elements of the draft plan, and of course, to incorporate feedback from the community. So we want to talk a little bit, I'd like to talk a little bit about the rationale behind our strategic plan. This really is a guiding document that enables us to prioritize district actions and initiatives to achieve our goals over the next 5 years. You may recall that last June, we kind of tied a bow on our previous strategic plan that reached from 2015 to 2020. And so now it's time to craft a new one to move forward with. This was developed by engaging key district stakeholders and the broader community to share input and suggestions. We'll have some more details about who those key stakeholders are a little later in the presentation. And we'll share some of the key elements of the plan, the mission and vision, the theory of action, and strategic priorities and measurable goals. So this is kind of this is the 10,000-foot view of how the strategic plan gets crafted. If you look at the top 3 rows, the mission and vision, the theory of action, and the priorities with measurable goals. This is the work that's been done so far this year. We have an updated mission and vision, a theory of action, this is what we commit to doing, and a number of priorities with measurable goals. That's the work that the steering committee has done this year. What work that is still to be done includes the specific initiatives and action steps. And those are the parts that our entire school community will be able to take part in as we move forward next year. And so we're looking forward. I've said it a couple times. I want to make sure it's clear that this is our draft strategic plan. We have worked very hard on it, but it can't really be finalized until the community lets us know how you feel. That's our entire community, our school community, our parents and families. We look forward to hearing from you. So after the presentation this evening, you will have an opportunity to ask questions in the chat. And we'll respond to as many as we can. We'll also be reviewing the plan with the Board of Education tomorrow evening. And we will have the email set up specific to the strategic plan, keeping it simple, strategicplan@suffernCentral.org. And we'll be accepting comments and questions through the email through June 1st. We'll review the ways to provide your feedback again at the end of the session, but just so you have in mind the opportunities you have to contribute your feedback. And now I would like to turn this over to Matt Kern, our board president.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Thank you for the introductions and for, introducing the plan and its conception to the community. I'm gonna.
Sorry.
That's okay. So I'm just gonna take a few minutes and I'm gonna walk through who was on our strategic planning steering committee, how we got here, and how we really developed a plan for creating this plan. That's a lot. I said plan a lot. So, first and foremost, it was very important for us to have a good cross-section of the community. And that means teachers, administrators, parents, board members, all the stakeholders that touch this district in one way or another. So you see, on the slide in front of you, the list of all of the steering committee members, and it really is, or was, and is a really good mix of backgrounds and of insights. There are 2 board members on here, both of which have students in the schools, so we're board members and parents at the same time. There are multiple administrators and teachers who are both district employees, but also parents of students in the schools. I know Christine Giganti is somewhere on here. I don't see her picture, but I know she's here, representing PTA Council, and again, another parent in the community. So again, very important for us to have the feedback and the and the complete knowledge and skill set of as broad a community as we could have. So how do we create a strategic plan? As Lee said, last June, our previous 5-year strategic plan sunsetted. And, a lot in Suffern has changed over the last 5 years. And that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing, but it means that we need to look at where we are as a district, what our student body looks like, what our enrollment looks like, what our scores look like, what our programs look like, and develop a plan for the next 5 years that's going to accommodate and enhance Suffern, continue to have the type of district and the type of schools that we want to not just have our children go to, but that we want to work in, and a community that we want to live in. So it was reviewing a lot of data, both past and current, looking at our key focus areas, which I know we'll get to in much more depth later on in this presentation, figuring out what our strengths are and what are our needs, and from there, developing a plan. So as I had said earlier, lots of different stakeholder groups involved in this process. I really can't emphasize that enough, that it was extremely important to us to engage all the different elements that make Suffern. So students, PTA members, teachers and support staff, all of these groups were, they were talked to and asked for feedback and information, and they also represent this steering committee. So essentially everything you see on that screen in front of you, all those blue circles, had people working diligently on this plan to make it as robust as possible. Okay, so some background on Suffern, and a lot of you already know these, these tidbits of information, but some fun facts, some quick facts. Our average class size for grades 3 through 12, 17 students. We have a very high daily attendance rate. Roughly 400 teachers employed at Suffern Central. We have award-winning schools. We have blue ribbon schools. We have K through 12 STEAM education. We are a devoted district to our students, and and I've said that for forever. I mean, since before I was on the board, I have always felt that Suffern was a district that truly cared about their students. And we put as much as we possibly can into creating the types of programs and education that we can do to make our students successful. But we look down below. Roughly a third of our student body are economically disadvantaged. Almost 10% are English as a new language. Our graduation rate is very high. We have a large number of students that currently attend college, vocational programs, but as we move forward, we may see a bit of a shift in those numbers, and we need to make sure that we're preparing every student that graduates from Suffern High School with the best tools possible to be successful in their lives. So again, when we looked to develop our plan, one of the things we looked at was our strengths. What makes Suffern special? What are the great achievements that we can rely on as we build this plan? So we look here, passionate and committed staff. I don't think anybody watching this could ever argue with that. Academic enrichment opportunities. Again, I believe that Suffern offers more academic enrichment opportunities than any other district in Rockland County. That is my unqualified comment. I don't have the numbers to back that up, but I'm pretty sure that we do. Instructional technology. I know that's one of Suffern's strengths, that we're at the forefront of that. Resource allocation. That's something that we do exceptionally well. And with COVID-19 learning, that is not necessarily part of a 5-year plan, but it's a great emphasis on how we're able to adapt to a rapidly changing environment while keeping our students poised to do their best, even in tumultuous times.
Thank you, Matt. And so we started our work as a steering committee, taking in all the information from the focus groups, from the data that was shared. And we started by looking at our long-term aspirations and tried to capture those in an updated district mission and vision. So we have a mission and vision, which the district has had for a long time, and it hadn't been updated in a while. So we thought it was a good time to update it. And I think, I'm not sure, Matt, if you're muted. All right, I was getting a little feedback there. So our updated mission statement reads, the mission of the district is to educate students in the critical skills and essential knowledge necessary to be informed, responsible, and active citizens prepared to take the next steps in their education, careers, and lives in our diverse society. And I can tell you that the committee has looked at every single word in that statement, discussed which words we felt were best and should be included, and this is what we arrived at. Continuing along those lines, we also look to update our vision. Now, interestingly, everyone in the district knows that our tagline has been for a very long time, educating for personal excellence. What's interesting about that is it actually didn't exist in our mission and vision. So we put it there because we felt it belongs there. That's probably the most common phrase that everybody knows. So let's put it where it belongs in our vision. And so we distilled our vision down to 2 parts of that, which are students will be prepared for success in society through authentic learning opportunities designed to support individual differences while focusing on the belief that all students are capable learners. Also, that all schools, staff, families, and the community will work together to educate students in a safe and secure environment and provide a high-quality educational experience for students that emphasizes achievement, social-emotional well-being, and personal responsibility. Again, we see carefully chosen words by the committee and a real feeling really in the second bullet. And this is something we all felt so strongly about coming through the pandemic and some of the challenges we faced this year, that second bullet really captures the community, how our community cares so much about each other here in Suffern. So next we took these ideas and we formed a theory of action. And this is really a commitment. This is saying that if we commit to the following, if we commit to student success, and if we commit to family engagement, and if we commit to fiscal responsibility, then we will be able to achieve our mission. And now I'm going to turn it back to you, Matt.
All right. So for those that think that maybe Lee was exaggerating, the amount of wordsmithing that went into some of these things like the mission and vision really was quite astounding. But I mean that in the nicest way, because we really, there really was a dedication to make sure that every word that we put into those mission and vision statements was the right word for Suffern. And I think we really did achieve that. So the 5 key priorities that emerged as the core themes were as follows, and each of the ones that we're going to now go forward and discuss in more detail. Academic success for all students, social emotional learning and supports, family and community engagement, staff development and support, and targeted resource use. All 5 of these themes are what is going to tie the strategic plan together and push Suffern forward into and well beyond the 21st century as the most as the in my opinion preeminent district in Rockland. I mean, I think that we're going to keep striving to make Suffern better, and these 5 themes are going to be what leads us along the way. So I'm going to stop talking finally, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ranchera to dive into that first point. So Dr. Ranchera, please take it away.
Thank you, Matt. Our first strategic priority aligns with the district's core purpose, the success of all our students, specifically the academic success of our students. It reads as follows: SCSD will maintain a culture of high expectations and academic success grounded in authentic learning experiences so that each and every student is prepared for success in society. This priority emphasizes the district's commitment for all students to benefit from high standards and authentic learning grounded in real-world problems and experiences, resulting in successful outcomes for each and every student as they move through their pre-K to 12 journeys, providing them with tools to pursue their own goals as they contribute to society once they leave Suffern Central. So what does academic success look like? After thoughtful consideration and exchanges of ideas, the following definition of academic success at Suffern Central emerged. SCSD will ensure all students receive cognitively demanding curriculum and programs that will prepare them for post-secondary education, career opportunities, and lifelong success. And we will provide a rigorous, culturally relevant pedagogy that challenges all of our students and responsibly addresses the needs of all of our student populations. Engaging with a high-quality, rigorous, and challenging curriculum develops critical thinking skills and a higher degree of perseverance, grit, and persistence in students, skills and traits which are essential for a positive academic outcomes. How will progress towards this priority be measured? While Suffern Central continues to be a high-performing district on all New York State metrics for student performance, during the strategic planning process, certain areas for improvement materialized based on available quantitative data and survey and interview data collected during the process. The district will use a broad spectrum of measurements, including the following data points, to monitor progress for this priority. Number 1, increasing the percentage of classes that have incorporated culturally responsive pedagogy. Culturally responsive pedagogy recognizes the importance of including students' cultural references in all aspects of learning. This is essential because research shows that providing a welcoming and inclusive learning environment allows for a deeper level of engagement with the curriculum, setting a foundation for successful outcomes for students. Second, increasing the percentage of students who enroll in accelerated honors or advanced placement courses. This metric will measure progress towards ensuring that all students can access rigorous coursework while they are enrolled at Suffern Central. Third, increasing the percentage of diverse learners who enroll and achieve proficiency in accelerated honors and AP courses. Suffern Central will measure progress towards closing opportunity gaps for student populations who fall into various New York State subgroup designations and who can benefit from different learning supports, including, but not limited to, students with disabilities, English language learners, and economically disadvantaged student populations, thus ensuring that not only will they have access to rigorous coursework, but will also excel in these courses. Fourth, increasing the percentage of students who score proficient or above on ELA and math assessments. We focus on ELA and math because these provide the foundation necessary for success in other humanities and STEM subject areas. Although student achievement will not only be measured by assessments, assessment data can provide many insights into the teaching and learning process. This work will analyze student performance on a cross-section of assessments, not just New York State exams, but will include NWA MAP, classroom and district-wide common assessments, among others. And lastly, closing achievement gaps for diverse learners who score below proficient on the ELA and math assessments. Working to close the discrepancy in performance on assessments of diverse needs students that are correlated with disability, class, race, or native language will ensure that these student populations can experience the same level of accomplishment as their peers. Closely monitoring these 5 metrics and continuously measuring our progress will ensure that priority 1 is a key focus of the district's work over the next 5 years. And now I'll turn it over to Dr. Castaldo.
Good evening. I'm going to cover priority 2, which is socio-emotional learning and supports. And that priority reads as this: Suffern Central School District will ensure all students feel emotionally supported while also developing resiliency and strength of character necessary for life. As we all know, succeeding in life is not just based on what you know, but it's also based on your grit and resilience, your ability to be flexible and come back from any setbacks that you may have. So we want to develop those characteristics in our students, which will make them more successful in life. So what does that look like exactly? We are going to integrate socio-emotional and behavioral learning into daily instruction to proactively address students' needs and connect social-emotional learning to the academics they are learning. We are also going to provide a supportive, respectful, and safe environment so that all students feel emotionally supported at school. We are going to measure this priority along a set of metrics. Ms. Weber, if you can move
sorry.
the slide. That's okay. So how are we going to measure our progress on this? Well, number 1, we want to increase the percentage of students who report feeling welcome at school. That is not to say that Suffern Central School Districts overwhelmingly feel unwelcome, but we do want to make sure that every single student feels welcome. That is the foundation of culturally responsive instruction. It is the foundation of relationships in the classroom. Research has proven that the teacher-student relationship is one of the most powerful variables in students' success with learning and with cognitive demand. So we want to make sure that every student feels welcome. Beyond that, we want to increase the percentage of students that have integrated Yale EI ruler tools into their curriculum in the classroom. Now, you may have heard about Yale EI ruler tools. If you've watched any of these Suffern streams or the reopening plan, or even the Board of Ed meetings, I've talked about Yale EI ruler tools and how they help our students name and tame their emotions, put their emotions to work for them. In fact, I'm always asking, how are you feeling, based on the mood meter that's behind me in the background. You can see it over my left shoulder. So those are the kinds of tools that we want to equip our students with, and they will also bring those home to their families because it increases a student's ability to regulate their emotions and use their emotions to meet with success in life. We also want to increase the percentage of students who report feeling they have at least one adult at school they can talk to. Research has shown that a child having at least one adult, some adult that they feel that they can reach out to, who is a mentor or someone that they can speak to their issues about, is what helps them meet with success. We're also going to look at increasing the percentage of students who report that the school encourages them to make positive choices. Some of the work we do in this area already are things you would know like PBIS or the pause systems in the various elementary schools, the Alveus work at the middle school, and I think it's Rachel's Choice at the high school. They all assist students and encourage them in learning the skills to make positive choices in their life. The last two metrics we'd be looking at to see if our social-emotional learning and supports are successful are decreasing the percentage of students who are chronically absent and decreasing the in-school and out-of-school suspension rates. These are two metrics that we look at frequently, as New York State looks at these as well, and they are indicative as to the culture of the school, whether students feel welcome in the school, whether they are supported for their emotional needs, and whether they are supported in making positive choices. So those are the final two metrics we'll be looking at in socio-emotional learning and supports. I'm going to turn it over, I believe, to Ms. Weber and Ms. Giganti, who are going to discuss family and community engagement.
Thank you, Dr. Castaldo. So this was really a central aspect of the plan, and we really wanted to emphasize the role of family and community. And so as a result, we said that we will commit to frequent, purposeful, and bilingual two-way communication and engagement with families and community members. And I would emphasize the amount of discussion and focus on two-way communication and true engagement. So what does this look like? Suffern Central will proactively communicate with parents, families, and community members so that they're well informed of student progress, upcoming events, Suffern Central priorities, and necessary updates. We'll also ensure that all parents, families, community members, and partner organizations are connected to the district as long-term supporters and partners in the education of all students. As I mentioned earlier, throughout the pandemic, we saw so many of our partners, our community partners, step forward. We want to make sure that that continues and even grows. We'll commit to this frequent, purposeful, bilingual, two-way communication and engagement. And how will we measure that? By increasing the percentage of parents and families who feel informed about what's happening in their child's school and in the district. Increasing the percent of families who report feeling connected to their child's school. Increasing the percentage of families who believe our school leaders help families to become partners in the education of their children. Increasing the percentage of families who believe our schools support their child in making positive choices. If you recall, Dr. Castaldo spoke about that on the last slide. In social emotional learning, we want to know if the students believe we're supporting them in making positive choices. Here, we want to know if families believe it. Also increasing the percentage of multilingual parents and families who report that the messages provided to them by the district are clear. And increasing the percentage of families who respond that teachers contact them not only in times of concern. And next, we will have Finetta Miles and Patty Marino will speak a bit to staff development and support.
Here I go again, always having my mute button on. Thank you, Lee. And thank you for asking me to participate as one of the steering committee members. I truly appreciate it as one of the support staff members for the Suffern Central School District for close to 20 years now, and president of the teacher aides and lunch monitors, serving them proudly for those years. Staff development and support is key and most important for all of us who are affecting our students' lives when they come to school, and also when they're at home, because many of us are parents to our children. You know, once they leave school, they come home. And we appreciate that the district is so involved and engaged in the development and support of staff. And what it does say for us is that Suffern Central School District will support, recruit, and develop staff to best support the academic and social emotional needs of all students. What does staff development and support look like? We'll provide staff with personalized and differentiated professional learning tied to the academic, social, emotional, and family and community engagement, strategic priorities, ensuring staff continue to grow professionally, increase their cross-cultural competency, and increase student achievement and engagement. And that's a lot to be said and a lot to achieve. And I, for one, am pleased to, see this statement here and support it wholeheartedly. Speaking from the support staff end of it, we all play a role, and many of our students attach to some of our support staff quite easily. Some of us are one-to-ones, some of us are classroom aides, some of us, facilitate our lunchtime procedure and work with our students through social and emotional growth in the classroom, on the playground, in the lunchroom. We have quite an effect on our students on a daily basis, and we look forward to receiving more training and more support so that we can be even more effective as time goes on to help our students achieve academically, socially, emotionally, until they graduate. Thank you so much.
So during this process, the areas that we sat and looked at that we feel need to be improved and to be worked upon are the following goals that we are looking to measure the progress. First one is increasing the number of staff who indicate that their professional development improves instruction and student learning, to give us an opportunity to really provide insight into those target areas to help us better serve students in our classroom. The second bullet is to increase the number of staff who indicate that they feel well prepared to deliver and integrate social emotional learning, to continue on with our Yale EI and to continue to be able to provide not just a standalone curriculum, but fuse it into the curriculum that we have across the board. Our third bullet is increasing the number of staff who indicate they feel prepared to differentiate for their students with both IEPs and ENL students. Since as we saw in that first slide, Mr. Kern had shared that the numbers continue to increase, that our feeling of preparedness to be able to differentiate in the classroom and across the curriculum. The fourth one is to increase the number of employees who indicate that their talent and work is recognized. And finally, increasing recruitment and hiring of staff from backgrounds that reflect student demographics, including more bilingual employees and teachers of color, so that students can relate to all of our staff in a positive way and feel comfortable in school. I will now hand this over to Mr. Steve Schweika.
Good evening, everyone, and last but not least, targeted resource use. Suffern will target the use of its resources toward the district academic, social, emotional, family and community engagement, strategic priorities in order to balance efficiency and high quality education, as you heard everyone speak of before me. What does this look like? Suffern will make strategic budgeting decisions, as though it always has, that focus resources toward educationally sound, research-backed initiatives to meet the needs of students, staff, and families. We will continue to promote fiscal responsibility at the schools and at the district level. As Mr. Kern mentioned earlier, we have a very, very devoted community. We have academic enrichment opportunities for our students. I won't say they're endless, but much, much greater than most schools that I've ever dealt with in New York State. So kudos to our devoted community. SES will also target the use of resources toward the district's academic, social, emotional, and family and community engagement strategic priorities and to balance the efficiency and high quality education. Again, how will we measure the progress? By ensuring all initiatives and resources in the operational budget support these academic, social, emotional, and family and community engagement priorities. In fact, we've already started creating rubrics for things like software. We've already created 5-year budgets. We're also taking all kinds of data that we never have taken before, if you will, and putting it together the way we've never done before, and noticing things, as were mentioned earlier this evening, things that are going to help us move into the future to be able to guide our dollars even better. And we're going to be able to measure that effectiveness of the resource use, and again, evaluations of new and existing staffing and those programs. Next slide. And now here's where we have community feedback. And if tonight, if we don't answer all of your questions during our chat with your questions, you can certainly email us at strategicplan@sufferncentral.org. If you have any other thoughts and questions and feedback, as Ms. Weber mentioned earlier, that site will be open until June 1st. And we thank you very much for providing your feedback. And Ms. Weber, I'll hand it back to you at this point.
So I think now we will take a look in the chat and give folks, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we will give folks a chance to type in any questions that they may have. And Ms. Mermelstein will help us to moderate that chat.
Absolutely. Nothing yet.
Okay, so I'll take this opportunity to thank all of you, my illustrious steering committee. Unfortunately, a few folks couldn't join us tonight, but they were huge contributors during the progress. I thank each and every one of you. We had, I don't know, about 8 meetings, and everyone was shared their best thinking, their opinions, their emotions at times, and really the collaboration, the conversations were just tremendous. And I thank each and every one of you for your input and your willingness to spend the time to make sure that we were representative of all students and all stakeholders. And I'm very proud of the draft we have. I'm excited for the community to give feedback, what questions they have, what really resonates with them. And, I look forward to continuing to move this work forward.
Lee, you beat me to it, because I just wanted to take a moment and thank everybody. So I'm just gonna replay what Lee just said. But no, I did. I wanted to take an opportunity not just to thank everybody from our district, all of our teachers and our staff and our community members who devoted all that time during the mornings when it's not always the easiest, to do what's best for our district. And I mean it when I say that I am honored to have been a part of this 5-year plan. And really, I just wanted to say thank you. And also thank you to DM Group, Dean and Simone. I know you're both on, but thank you for for being there as sort of the rock to lean on and to help us move this forward. So thank you to everybody.
Great. We actually have a question. So the question is, will there be training or professional development for all staff on culturally responsive pedagogy teaching?
Yes, we'll be working on that. That's one of our goals for next year. We did just hire a director of E&L and equity as I transition back to my assistant superintendent of instruction position, along with our new director of E&L and equity. We do expect there to be a continued focus on culturally responsive teaching practices, pedagogy. And I'm wondering if the question, just from the way you phrased it, Jenny, was to include more, that it's the original training we did in March was for teachers only. And so if I'm interpreting that question correctly, it's to include all of our staff. And yes, that is something we definitely want to do.
Yes, great. There is another question. If we can give another example or a few examples other than two-way bilingual communication of the ways that we anticipate engaging all families as we move forward.
So we have used a number of surveys this year, but that starts to get, if we think about the plan and we think about the screen I put up with the mission and vision, and then the theory of action and the priorities, and I said below that are the initiatives and the action plans. That's the stuff we'll be working on next year. The actual, how do we make this plan happen? And so next year we'll be looking in detail at the initiatives and the action plans of making that happen. So that's exactly the type of question we'll be wrestling with next year. We'd love input on it. So if folks have ideas about it, we encourage you to respond to the email strategicplan@sufferancentral.org.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we're looking for feedback from the community on how to best interact with them as we move forward. Those are the two questions that I see. I don't know if give another minute to see if anybody else has anything else.
Maybe, I don't want to put our team on the spot here, but if anyone from the steering committee maybe wants to offer just a few words about the experience of being on the steering committee and, any kind of reactions to your experience, if you'd be willing to share that.
I guess it must have been a terrible experience for everybody, I guess. Nobody wants to say anything.
No, it was wonderful. Yes. No. I was most appreciative. Oh, sorry, Patty, go ahead. I didn't know. No, I just wanted to say I, was most appreciative of being on the team and, having the exchanges that we had. And we really did go in depth. And, we really shared, our personal experiences, whether it was, through employment, through teaching, through the classroom, through interactions with students. We really, went in depth. And I just felt like we were a wheel and each of us was a spoke or spike, I don't know, spoke in a wheel, right? And so each spoke balances that wheel and we did that. And the DMG group was, excellent and, pulling all of our thoughts that we had coming at each other together. They were excellent in putting it together. And I just say kudos to them. And it really was a wonderful experience.
Thank you, Fanan.
I was just going to chime in as somebody who grew up in Suffern. I guess I've been here my whole life, and now having been teaching for 26 years, it really being on the committee really opened my eyes, even though I'm in the classroom and I'm around the students, when you really stop and look at how the demographics of Suffern has changed in my many years of 50 years, it really makes you stop and realize that, it's time for us to mirror that. And for us to take that leap of step and now integrate to change not just the curriculum, but just the plan of where we're going for the 5 years. I remember the last time the strategic plan was put in place, it's been a number of years, and each time it has definitely changed. And this time around, I really believe this has made the most drastic change of all the ones since I've been here, and it's been exciting to sit and watch.
Thank you. Thank you, Patty and Panetta, for sharing. Any new questions, Jenny?
Sorry, yes, I couldn't get off my mute. How will the strategic plan support specific target groups of students that are not performing on grade level in the state tests?
So again, if we go back to focus area 1, academic success for all students, that is really the goal of a number of those, the measurable goals. And so we'll be looking at that data, and a lot of that will also tie directly into the school, the individual school improvement plans, and looking at the achievement data from a disaggregated perspective. That means by looking at it broken down in different groups. And that will be for next year, the initiatives and action steps that take place. Does anyone want to add to that?
I'll add to it in that I see those, and you started to touch on it when you talked about it being in all of the school improvement plans, those initiatives and action steps, how these these priorities and goals become live in the buildings is done by the buildings. So we're kind of a group of the whole district. The buildings take what we put together and put together those initiatives and action steps, some of which will be district-wide, like a Yale EI, but some of which will be very specific to the building that your child is attending. And that's a spot where parents may have the opportunity to come forward and be a part of some of that planning.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. And then just building on that, the one last question that's on here, what changes will happen with the selected curriculum to make sure all students' outcomes will improve? I don't know if we know the answer to that at this point, but it's food for thought.
Yes, I think that is something we want, that's part of the initiatives and the action plans. So we need to see, where are we starting? What's our baseline data? If you recall, a number of our measurable goals start with increasing, but they don't talk about specific percentiles. And that's part of the work we'll be doing next year, looking at baselines and looking at percent, what's a reasonable expectation for improvement, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years.
Oh, wait, there's another question. Can somebody define culturally responsive instruction in detailed examples?
So that would be a long answer for right now. What I would recommend is that folks go back to our March Suffern streams. I think it was March 22nd, maybe. We did our entire Suffern streams on culturally responsive teaching. And so I would encourage folks to look back at that, and you'll get a nice 40-minute answer to that question. Or you can send us an email and we'll share some of the materials there.
Great, here's a comment. Thanks, Mrs. Marina, for pointing out the importance of making meaningful strategic changes to mirror our community. I, like you, am an alumni, teacher, current parent, and have seen these big changes. That is it, but they were slowly coming in, so we can give it another moment, see if there's anything else.
So what I'll do in the meantime, while we're doing it, is I'm going to share my screen again and put up the email address for people to just have, so they can see. We do encourage more feedback. So please feel free to send questions, comments, feedback to the email address, strategicplan@sufferncentral.org. Any others, Jenny?
Nope, we are good.
All right, then I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank the committee again for your participation this evening and over the last 6 months. I look forward to seeing this draft plan move to a final version once we have received the feedback from our community. So have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Thank you again.